most people spend their lives, right? 60, 70 years waiting to retire so they can finally live. There's other possibilities, right?
All right, what's up, guys? Today we have a special guest, Jasmine Calio. Jasmine is a co-owner of WNN Properties, which is a real estate education company that helps people build passive income through out-of-state real estate investing. Welcome to the show, Jasmine.
Hi, thanks.
So, I mean, we've known each other for like a little while, and I think I've really admired you and like your husband TJ's journey from going from postal workers to now like real estate educators, and you guys built your own passive like portfolio, a pretty large passive income portfolio with rental properties, both residential and commercial properties. And you guys were able to do it in like such a short like time period. Like, how long did it take you from your first rental to financial freedom?
Yeah, CJ and I started back in 2015, I believe.
Okay.
And that was when we bought our very first property.
That was like the first rental.
Yeah, that we bought together for sure. And it was just a turnkey property that we bought out of state. And from there, we caught the bug, I like to call it, and just built our portfolio. And we were able to leave our jobs within, I think it was 4 years, was it? Yeah.
So in 3 years, so in 2015, you bought your first rental property. That was like you went through some bumps and bruises, kind of like learned the process. And then after 4 years, you were making enough passive income from a rental portfolio that was enough to replace your jobs as a UPS and a postal worker.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's amazing. How many doors did it take to get you to that point?
Well, for us at least, we went with quantity
Okay.
more than anything, and just built up the portfolio very, very quickly. So
Okay.
we were probably around 80 to possibly even 90 doors
Wow.
by the time we
Okay.
hit that.
I mean, so I guess there's two ways to do it. There's gonna be like you can get like a large cash flowing property with like one or like maybe like 10, or you can do like how you guys did, where you have like 80 of them, where the cash flow like a little less, but then like it's still at the end of the day it's the same amount of cash flow positive net.
Yeah, definitely.
So I mean, like when you guys were kind of going through that process, like how did you do it so quickly?
I'd have to say it was a lot of, I'd say creativity more than anything. The first few, I like to say this is actually kind of common with real estate investors, right? The first one, you just want to get it started.
Yeah.
And then after that, after a certain amount of time, you kind of run out of your own money. Right?
Yeah. So did you guys buy the first one with your own money?
Yeah. First one definitely was our own money with just a traditional bank. And we were just looking to get something started and see if we even like it, right?
Yeah.
And it was I like to say that that first property was by far the hardest property that we did. You know,
Really?
After that, the rest of the doors were easy compared.
Why? What makes you say that?
It's like when you do anything for the first time, right? Just the uncertainty, the unknowns, the fear.
Yeah.
And just, oh my God, am I really going to do this?
Did you guys have any real estate experience prior to that?
No, it was all just listening to free stuff or, listening to a couple podcasts or something like that. And then our first purchase was from afar. So it was like, oh, is it real?
So, I mean, you're living in Hawaii and your first purchase was in what state?
It was in Indianapolis.
Okay, oh, cool. I mean, that's where I started too, actually. Like, funny story. I was staying in Indianapolis when I first started.
Yeah.
What made you guys choose Indy out of all places?
It was the deal. So to me at the time, everything looked the same. All the Midwest, they're all the same numbers. You just try to find something in that wherever they tell you to C, B, or A, find something that matters.
So how much
to
was
you.
that first property?
I can't remember what the price was. I think it was maybe like 80,000.
80,000.
Yeah.
And I was renting for...
I think maybe about 1,000.
Okay. So you buy a house for 80,000 in the Midwest in Indianapolis, rented for 1,000. There was already a tenant in place. That's what they call turnkey.
Yep.
And then how much did you? Was like a 20% down? Did you buy it all cash? What did you do? So
yeah, the 20% down, and then the traditional mortgage.
So what was that process like?
Yeah, it was just a normal loan where you just nothing particular. I think the more important part for me was like, was this tenant a real person? You know, am I actually buying an actual property? I went with one of those turnkey companies that did all of it, so they were all in one, and then they even managed the property for us.
I mean, it's 2015, so it wasn't like that long ago, but I feel like the world is vastly different in 2015 than it is today.
Oh yeah, even when I was saying the numbers to you, I was like, wow, you can't get that nowadays,
Like
especially with the turnkey company too.
But the thing is too, I think is like in like 2015, there wasn't as much social media, there wasn't as much like internet, like YouTube and things like available. So a lot of those things you probably had to like figure it out on your own without like any help.
Yeah, they was just starting during that time, like from around after the crash to about 2015 or so. Is actually when the turnkey thing started really getting hot, right? Like that's the thing that people were doing.
Like a turnkey property was like becoming more like well known and more popular.
Yeah, because during the crash, nobody wanted to touch real estate with a 10-foot pole, right?
From 2008 to like 2000 like 12 or so.
Yeah, so right after that, everything was so cheap that people started buying them, rehabbing them. Turnkey companies became a real big thing, you know. So that's kind of like the starting of the time frame, but then it wasn't something that was like nowadays everybody knows what it is. Or, you know.
So I mean, like when you're buying houses for that cheap, like 80,000, it's renting for 1,000. It seems very like it makes like a lot of sense as far as like being able to build like a cash flowing portfolio.
Well, it does to an experienced investor. At the time, I wasn't, so I didn't know if that was cheap or not. I didn't know if that was the right, you know, if it would cash flow. I mean, you know, because it's your first time doing anything. You don't really know anything until you get that experience. So that first time actually stepping into the unknowns and doing something so different, you know, I've never met anybody else who did that before. Or let alone buy from afar.
So
right?
like you guys were kind of like the first ones. There was no friends or family. Nobody else you guys didn't take a mentorship or anything. It was just you guys just figuring it out on your own.
Yep, definitely. I never met anybody who did anything like that. I mean, I went to a couple of networking events, but of course in Hawaii, everybody in a networking event is a flipper or something because you have to see, feel, and touch, you know, and they just think I'm just crazy trying to buy something from so far away in the mainland.
I kind of had this similar experience when I first started. The same thing where just everybody was telling me like you can't buy properties from like so far away, right? Like you live in Hawaii, you buy in Hawaii. You can't buy like somewhere that you've never been to before.
Yeah, it's like, what if something goes wrong? Or then all you hear is all the negative things that could possibly happen that they've never even met anybody who actually happened to. They're just making stuff up, and it's like, am I going to listen to them or am I going to go and try something different? Because
I think it's very common because like they're looking out for your best interests. So they're thinking of all the things that could go wrong. Like they're just imagining the worst case scenarios basically, or they heard from a friend or they heard a story, but the likelihood of a lot of these things happening are actually like very small depending on which one that they're talking about.
Yeah. And I mean, there is a possibility that it can happen, but I get to look at the time, you really get to look at what you have in front of you, right? I can do the same things I was continuing to do and have the same path, or I can do something different and take that chance. And, you know, I obviously chose a different path.
So we're looking at properties back then in, like, say, 2015, and they're going for those prices. But then we're looking at them today where they're a little bit more expensive. Do you think it's still possible to cash flow and to build a portfolio in the Midwest?
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You just get to be better, that's all.
What do you mean by that? Can you talk a little more about that?
You know, so if the opportunity, there's always an opportunity, right? In any environment, anytime, you just get to decide on if you're going to do something different, right? So, okay, I can't buy a turnkey property for $80,000 for $1,000 rent nowadays. So what can I do, right? And then I might have to work a little bit harder to find a better deal that can do that. Or I might have to have a better network or community, right? And so there's always deals, though. There's always a situation. And then it's just maybe it's not as easy to find at the moment.
I like that. And I think it's a testament to just like when you're looking for opportunities, they're just different types of hard. So back then, the hard was that nobody knew what they were doing. There was a dearth of information, so it was very hard to figure it out. But then there's more deals available in general for cash flow. But nowadays, there's way more information, but maybe the deals are not as available for cash flow on like a deal by deal basis.
Yeah, not at the surface level, right? They may not be, but you can still find deals that absolutely cash flow. You just get to be a better investigator, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So you guys teach people how to do this and how to invest out of state. kind of like what does that process look like when they want to sign up for WNN or they want to kind of get started building like from my W-2 into just a passive income portfolio?
Yeah. So WNN Properties, at least, we like to say, let's focus on the next step. So I'm not here to try to tell everybody, oh, they're going to make millions of dollars and quit their job and like, and look at my Lamborghini or whatever, right? But our idea is simply, we'll get you to the very next step. And at least in my process, I realized that the hardest step was that first step. And then after that, now that I see it as an actual proof of concept, then everything else came much easier. And I was willing to take more action after that. But before that, the thing I regret, was that we did it alone. I had the most fear because I had no idea.
Nobody to lean on, nobody to kind of ask advice for. If case something went wrong, you had no one to like, no resources to kind of like help you out.
Someone tell me it's all right. You're not crazy.
I feel like sometimes we just all need that, right? It's just like somebody who's like on our side, who's experienced, who knows what we're going to face. And then just tell us like, hey, what you're feeling or what you're facing is normal. Like the buyers are going to back out. You're going to have an inspection report that's going to be like 100 pages long and it's going to look terrible.
It's not if, it's when. So just be prepared for it and then it's all right. It's going to happen and there's always going to, you're not going to die and everything will be fine. And, they'll help you avoid any pitfalls. If you're going to fall off the cliff, they'll know where the cliff is,
Yeah.
And it was definitely something that I wish if we had done that, we probably would have gone 10 times faster than what we
I feel like all of us as real estate investors, we're like, I wish I did more like sooner. So it's always like, I wish I started earlier and I wish I did more.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much opportunity out there. Yeah. And like the earlier and the sooner you do and the more action you take, the more faster your trajectory will be.
Exactly. But at the time, I thought I was going really fast because I didn't know any better.
Yeah. No, so the same for me. I thought I was going like super fast, but in retrospect, I was like, I could have gone so much faster if I knew what I knew now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because in comparison to everybody who's not doing anything, my one property I sat on for nearly a year, I was like, oh my God, I'm so cool. But then you start meeting other people like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I got to get there. And now I can truly move 10 times faster.
Well, I think that's one of the cool things about you guys is you guys are kind of inspiring where you went first. And so I think a lot of times when we're looking for like coaching or people to mentor us, we want to have somebody who's actually done it. And like you've done it very recently. So it's not like you didn't build it in the past, like a long time ago. It's like, a few years ago, you had nothing, and then now you're here. And so now you guys are helping to teach other people to do the same thing. And it's refreshing to see that like the bumps and bruises that you guys already went through, you can help us to kind of like go through the same things, but then with a little bit more wisdom.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly the way we felt too. It's like when we first started, and having that feeling of aloneness and just this, everybody else thinks we're crazy and we're just doing all this stuff that's completely different from everything else. We realized that that other people feel this way too.
Yeah.
When we got to leave our jobs and everybody started asking us, how did you do that? That's impossible. And I was like, well, thinking like that is the problem, that you think it's impossible. So let's start there. But just knowing that we can build something more, a purpose. So, why should it just be us? Why should we just do this alone, right? Let's help other people get to where we were too, because that's, most people spend their lives, right? 60, 70 years waiting to retire so they can finally live. That just seems, so much time gone by when there's other things, other possibilities, right?
I think a lot of times the problem is like people aren't aware of like the opportunity that's available. And so I think the cool thing about real estate investing, both you and I both kind of found out, was that real estate investing as a vehicle has allowed us to like open up a world of possibilities that I didn't even know existed like before I kind of got into it. Yeah.
It's like, I feel like the Alice in Wonderland, like your world got opened up to totally different possibilities and, and it's just like, why can't everybody else be able to have this too? Yeah.
So you and your husband, CJ, you guys started with basically working W-2s, eventually built up a pretty large portfolio, 80 doors before you were to reach financial freedom. What was like the biggest obstacle to getting to that point for you guys?
The biggest obstacle to get to
from like
financial
zero,
freedom?
like zero to like financial freedom, because you guys did it in just 4 years, and so
Oh, well, definitely our mindset. Every time we broke through a different barrier or a wall that or limiting belief that we believed was impossible, more doors came automatically.
Walk me through that process. So like what's like the first limiting belief that you had when you first started this whole journey?
Oh, that I could retire before 55.
It's funny. I had the exact same. I mean, mine was like 65, and actually mine was like I'm never gonna retire because, yeah, I was like I have a 401k which doesn't pay a lot. I don't have like a pension or nothing. So I was like, my plan is just to never retire. So.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, oh, who retires before 55? That's impossible. You can't do that. Like, well, now that I said that, yes, I'm right.
Yeah. So so the first one was okay, like just that it's possible, like you can retire earlier. Then like because when you're as an investor, you're kind of like walking through these different barriers, right? There's like, I can't do this. Oh, maybe I can do this. I can't do this. Maybe I can do this. What was like kind of like the progression of different kind of limiting beliefs or barriers that you guys went through?
Yeah, I'd say definitely that first one of there's no way to retire before 55. And people who do that, that's just crazy, right? And then the next one was I can't raise my private money. That was a big one and a very common one that we definitely work with in the community. Once you break that mindset, man, I think that's the most powerful barrier you can ever break. If you know that and have the confidence to know that you can just create money, you know?
Because in real estate, so you hear this all the time where you can invest in real estate with no money and no money, right? But real estate takes a lot of money. It doesn't have to be your money, right?
Exactly. So. And when we break through that barrier of like, how can I raise that kind of money? Then it's, it just breaks so many other barriers. I can do so many other things. I can do so many different types of deals.
Yeah.
And building up that experience from there.
Yeah.
Simply because I'm not sitting there thinking I have to do this alone.
Yeah.
That was a big barrier too, right? I get to build the team, and my private money lenders or my loan officers or whatever it is whatever way you pay, get your properties. They're on your team, and I have a community of people that I work with to build this portfolio.
I like that. One of the questions I think, I get this question all the time, I think, from people who are asking like, hey, like I don't have any money, like I can't invest in real estate. Like, like what do you tell people like that? What do you say to them?
Well, honestly, in my mind, it's always, well, if you're telling me this, I'm not here to convince you can. You have to believe that you can. So if you believe that it's even possible, then I can work with you, really. Yeah. But if you're gonna sit there and say, I just can't. Yeah. That's hard to break through, right?
I think sometimes like that. I was talking to this investor the other day, and he's like, yeah, like I only use my own money. Like I don't wanna I don't think like that. Yeah, I've never thought about using anybody else's money. But I was like, dude, what if I gave you today like $10 million and I said like go build something? How much faster could you go? And he's like, dude, if you gave me $10 million, I could go like through the moon, like with that money, with the opportunities that I have available. And so I think a lot of times people, they just don't even think that what they can't even imagine, like if they had money in their lap, what they could do with it, but because like they think it's so hard for them to like actually get or money or from other people.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem, right? They won't even allow themselves to imagine it. And if you can imagine it, then at least that's a start, right? Because once you have that vision or dream, right? Then you can turn it into a goal, which can be created into a plan, and now you can take action. But if you don't even start with that dream, right? How are you gonna? That's
where everything all begins, right?
Exactly.
So everything always starts with your mind. I feel like it's so cliche that it's 90% mental and 10% action, but at the same time, it's so true. Or like if you don't have like the mental clarity, then like it's impossible for you to really like to accomplish anything.
Yeah, because everything is on YouTube or a Facebook meme or whatever kind of thing. So if you want all the how-tos, everything is out there, right? But then not everybody, if that were the truth and how-tos were the...
Yeah, I mean, everybody would have six-pack abs and be ripped, right? Like,
it was just have millions of dollars and just sitting on the beach with tequila, with some drinks or something like that, right? But that's not the case. It's not the how-tos, it's the person and their mindset and what they're willing to do and the action they're willing to take.
So when you and CJ were kind of building your portfolio together, I really like it because you guys, I consider you guys like the dynamic duo. Where like you guys both complement each other really well. what is like CJ's role and what is your role in like in your own personal company building, like your portfolio?
Oh yeah, in the business, in the portfolio, we definitely have our own lanes. And he's energetic and he's fun and he's got that ability to really get you to move. Like
Emotional, like the motivator and stuff.
Yeah, so he's the face.
Yeah.
And I'm more on the I love Excel sheets.
that God bless people like you. I'm like that. But it's funny, when I was first hiring like our first admin, I was like, man, like I was like, who would take this job who wants to like go through like the tedious jobs of like Excel sheets or like emails and things that, because like for me, like it's like painful. And so, but then like when we met I was like, yeah, I really like the tedious work. I enjoy spreadsheets and things. Like, God bless people like you.
Yeah, I love getting data. I love analyzing data. I love, that kind of thing. It's
Were you good at math when you're in high school or in school?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say it came easy for me because it was part of my unique capability. So I didn't know that math was apparently something that people tended to struggle with. But it was more just, I feel like when you're searching through data, it's almost like an investigation. I'm here to discover something, and then am I discovering the right things, and what can I learn from it, and then how do you use that information to fix whatever it is or make something even better.
Yeah.
And it's just the mystery of it all is actually what I love the most.
So like in the two roles, like CJ is the energetic, the face of the company, and then what are you doing behind the scenes?
Oh, I'm definitely if we were talking about our portfolio, at least, like he's the guy who would talk to the people and get anything under contract. And then I will go through due diligence.
Okay.
Because I'm going to uncover something.
So you're going to underwrite the deal. You're going to analyze the numbers. You're going to try and look through like the inspection reports and figure out like what needs to be like further research or figured out.
Yeah. Or what are they telling us versus what is the data saying, or what are the information, and cross reference, that kind of thing.
How did you learn how to do all of this stuff?
Honestly, it was a lot of trial and error because we didn't have a supporting team or a mentor or anything like that. So I you ever heard that saying, like, if you're going to pay in experience or you're going to pay for coaching?
Yeah.
We paid a lot in experience. Way more than we ever did in coaching, I'll tell you.
Sometimes like the best teachers are like pain, because whenever you make a mistake, you remember it a lot easier versus like if somebody tells you not to do it and then like it's like easy to like disregard their advice. That's
true. But then at the same time, if you learn through pain, sometimes you don't learn anything because you didn't know that was actually a really bad thing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, sometimes if you learn through too much pain, then like it makes you like not want to continue anymore because it's too painful too, right? So
that's true.
You take too big of a loss or very early in your career, and that could be like basically like I see a lot of guys, especially flippers, who are like their first deal is their last deal because they lost so much money on their first project.
That's true too. Yeah. So there's always a plus and minus of it. I would rather have both.
Yeah. Do you guys have any coaches like now that you guys
yeah. Now it's just not just it's not just real estate anymore, right? Because like we said, a lot of it was mindset. I feel like most of our issues came from the lack of being able to be better in mindset wise. Yeah. So that's definitely somewhere we work with. And so we have a lot of coaching through not just real estate, but business, but our personal development. Just like personal development. Obviously our church and all that thing. So we have a different group.
I feel like real estate investing and business in general forces you to level up as a person. Because like the challenges that you're facing like on a daily, it's if you don't level up, then you're just gonna crumble.
And what's the fun in that, to not level up too, right? There's always something next. There's always something more that why wouldn't you want to keep going? What would you, if I'm not going to plateau at my age. I want to, I have so much more life to live and so much more purpose to and things to do with, in the world.
I love that. I think, just reflecting on my life, I think I worked W-2 for a long period of time. And like, I think I plateaued it in my job, but then in other areas of my life, like I tried to do jujitsu, I tried to like get better at that, or I tried to play golf and tried to get better at that. But I never leveled up my financial or my career path, Versus like now that I'm an investor and business owner, now like my focus is like on my career and on my investing, my portfolio, etc. I feel like I've leveled up more as a person through this journey than any of like the hobbies that I've ever experienced before.
That's true. Yeah. And I mean, the money comes, right? You level up yourself and your abilities, and it's just, you can't help but to make more value, which produces more income. That's all it does.
I mean, that the thing is like, so when you guys were like, as you guys are on this journey of like self-development and growing, like how closely tied is like your personal development and like how much money you make, you think?
Oh, it was very closely tied. Every time we leveled up our personal development, I swear we doubled our income every single time. Yeah, for sure.
And then like, was it like through coaching? Was it through like, what was like your path or your strategy to level up your personal?
I think we're always looking for the next thing that's going to help us move forward, right? But sometimes you just don't know what you don't know until you finally get it. That's all it is. You know, you can hear something 1,000 times, and then finally one day someone says it to you, and you're like, oh, okay, and now I get it, right? So it's just depending on how long it takes. It takes me to stop being so hard-headed, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's all of us, right? Where like we hear some great advice, but like it has to actually get through like all the different layers of our brain, our perspective, worldviews to actually like get internalized. And then once you internalize it, now you can actually use it and apply it.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you guys are building your portfolio, like walk us through the steps of what it looks like from like a new student to get started, like from their W-2, and then actually the however many years or properties it takes to get to financial freedom.
Oh, that's my CJ's favorite line. It depends, right? It depends on the person and how badly they want it, and how much action they're willing to take, and you know what are their timelines and their dreams and what they want to do. But for the like I was saying,
let's do two scenarios. One person is average Joe. We're gonna go like at a slow pace. We're gonna kind of take our time through the process. And then we'll walk through that journey, and then we'll go through like, hey, what does it look like as like a super action taker? Like, I'm just gonna go gung ho and all in. So first person, I just want to kind of take it easy. You know, I'm working a W-2. I want to like just slowly build my portfolio, and eventually, in 20 years, maybe like reach financial freedom.
Yeah. Well, honestly, we were both. You know, so when we first started, that was us, the average Joe. We wanted to take it slow, just see how it went. And most people do tend to be that way. They just want to. That's why we say just look at the very next step. We don't want, we're not interested in step 25 and get you overwhelmed, and then you won't do anything, right?
Yeah.
What's step one? Where do you want to invest? What do you want? What are your goals, and what's your timeline? It's really trying to understand that. And most people just want to try to get that first property, and that's about it. And they can't even, their mindset won't allow them to think that they can. Maybe other people can, but they can't get 10 doors.
Do you guys see that a lot as far as like the new students where they feel like other people can do it, but then I can't do that?
Yeah, definitely, right. And still to this day, right? I mean, even I have that idea, like, oh, you know, maybe in even my limiting beliefs, right?
Yeah.
I can't own like that entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, who owns that? That 80 building. And
I feel I have the same beliefs. I feel like and the thing is like whenever you get around other people who are doing like some crazy things like way above your level, then it kind of it pushes your belief like a little bit more, like maybe I can do that, like, you know. And so I think like it's just so important to get around the right rooms, and a lot of times like the value is just they're transferring their beliefs on you. Like they just like the successful people just see the world differently. Like they believe like so many things are like very differently, just like their worldview. And I think like a lot of times like when they're just around them, they're transferring like their view of like reality in the world like slowly onto you until you're like, well, actually maybe this is possible, or like it's something that I can do, you know.
Well, that's exactly where I was going to go with that too, because the very next thing they do is when they get into the community, they see everybody else getting all of these other properties, and it's just, you know, like, oh, okay. Now they can see it. Because the minute you can see it, you can believe it.
Yeah.
And when you believe it, then you can move forward.
Especially when it's somebody who like you can know personally, right? Because like a lot of times when you see people who are very successful like on YouTube or like on like the online, you think they're so far and like they're not like a real person. They don't seem real. Yeah. But then like when you're in a community with other people and they're like, yeah, I'm like
You just
I'm like
keep
a normal,
saying it.
yeah, like we're just talking together, like, you know, like I used to work as a developer, you were like a postal worker, and we were here where we are now, but we're just like normal people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's the most powerful part of it, right? Once you're around the right people, you can really truly like, oh, now that I see it, I can get
Yeah.
there. I can do that. It is possible because he did it.
Yeah. Do you guys have like a star student who kind of like had a shift in their mindset, where suddenly they went from like I can't do it to like then now like they had like a massive amount of success?
Oh yeah, we have a lot of those. I love to actually just tell CJ's story about that.
Tell me about it.
He was totally against real estate. He did not want to do it. He was like, you go ahead and try that 1st property. In fact, I like to tell people that when I bought, I bought that first property because I had to bribe him with a new truck. Okay, so we had a certain amount of money, and I said, I want to get the house. And he's like, oh, you don't want to buy anything out of state? That's ridiculous. We're gonna, so it was a very long argument. So he was very, very against.
So how did you come to the conclusion of real estate, like before, like what made you believe that real estate was the way?
I think for me, logically, it just made sense because I was always looking for the end game. The long term, I wanted passive income. Long term, what do the rich do? And over the long term, they always own assets and real estate, basically, right? So why wouldn't I want to start from the end game? So I'm going to start there instead of building up all these other paths to eventually get to where I want to be, which was the passive income.
Okay. So like, I mean, but then was it like through a podcast? Was it through like online? How did you like just come to like get the information that real estate was like was the way to get there?
Oh, it was just a Google search. Like,
okay.
What's my options to get passive income? And, one of
How
those
do I
things.
retire early? Like,
Yeah.
That was like the.
Yeah. And like the first thing that pops up is like all rich people or the, wealthiest people in the world own real estate. It's like, okay, then if they do that, why
Simple,
not look
right?
at that? Yeah. But
So-
for me, it was more just focus. If I'm going to pick something, I pick one thing. I'm not going to try to do stocks and Bitcoin and, and flip and do whatever. I'm going to pick one thing and focus only on one thing, create that result, and then we'll see from there. That's what my thought was.
I think that's really powerful. I think a lot of people, when like you first get started, there's so many different options, even within real estate. Like there's like so many different things.
Yeah.
But if you can just pick like one specific thing and just go all in on that, like it's so much more productive than like trying to do too many things at once.
Yeah, definitely. I like to tell this story a lot too. When we first started, I went to a lot of networking events trying to understand what my options were, and especially specifically down real estate. There's so many options, like you said. And I would meet people and they would say, oh, I'm doing this. And then, oh, okay, so how's that going? Well, it's great. I just got started on it, whatever, right? And so then I'd meet them a couple months later and oh, now I'm doing this. And it's like, well, what happened to that thing? Oh, well, and they just, but I'm still trying to do that, but I'm also trying to do this, and 10 years later, hey, how's it going? Oh, I'm going to get into this eventually. But then I'm trying to do this now. And it's like, oh, okay. Did you spend more than 3 months trying to do something?
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like I've met a lot of people like that. And I've probably been guilty of that myself too, where it's just like you try something for like a little while. Then you because you hear about it, outside investing is like, you can be retired in 3 years. Then you start it, it's like, oh, actually it's more work than I expected. Then somebody else goes, oh, you can do Airbnb, you can make a lot of money. Oh, this sound looks easier. And so there's this journey of like, when you first start, it's so exciting and like you see the possibility. Then when you get into it and you realize like, oh, it's actually more work than I expected. Oh, but there's this other opportunity that maybe it's like easier. And so we're constantly like shifting to trying to find like the easiest path. Versus like if you just say, okay, like I know it's gonna be hard. I just have to stick with it through the hard times and eventually it'll pay off down the line.
Yeah, that's exactly why we only teach passive income, cash flow out of state. And that's it.
I mean, that's very unique because I think most educational programs, there's like they teach like many different things, whereas like they don't want to just focus on just one specific thing, but there's like a lot of different avenues. But you guys are like, you double down, you're all in on just outside investing for passive income.
Well, if you teach everything, they're going to be, what is that saying? If you're a generalist versus a specialist, then you're not really a master of anything.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just be really good at one thing, because that's what's going to produce your best results, is sticking with one thing. And, like I said, we met so many people who just didn't stick with one thing long enough to really create the real results and keep going. But the people who were successful, they did, right? They picked that one thing and they're like, oh yeah, that's nice that you're doing that out of state stuff. I'm doing this and this is all I'm doing, and no one's going to change my mind about this, and I'm going to produce that result. And they're killing it today.
Yeah. I love it. I love that. So walk us through your thought process. Why out of state investing versus Hawaii versus flipping? Like why do you guys like out of state investing?
Well, like I said too, I wanted that passive income at the end of the day. I wanted that cash flow. We wanted to get out of our jobs, and that the passive income was the most appealing to me. So then I looked at flipping and wholesaling and all those other options that we could do, and I felt like wholesaling and flipping at least was great money if you were looking to create that pile of money.
Yeah, like
right?
a big amount of cash up front.
Yeah, but I was looking for the streams of cash, just monthly steady income. And if I flip or wholesale, I'm kind of just you're doing something, but then if you stop, so does the money, right? And
it's like a very high paying job.
Exactly.
Right?
I wasn't looking to quit my job to get another job. I was looking to find something that would give me stability, so I can really decide what I want to do instead of, so that was the thought process for me for when choosing that. But then in Hawaii, obviously it's a higher priced area. Most people are doing the flipping. It's not impossible. I would never want to say the word impossible, but it's much more of a challenge to find something to cash flow if you're going to hold on to it, right?
Can you explain that, like why that is?
Well, the price points, right? And versus the cash. And then some states are a little bit more friendly to renters versus the owners, so that's it. It had, and then the taxes, there's a lot of different things that come into it too. Does it cash flow, right? And so you have to be, really good, creative. There's ways to do it. Absolutely. And
in Hawaii, you mean?
Yeah. But why would I have put myself in that situation where I have to be really, really good because I'm determined to stay in one location. That's just me being hard-headed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So you're kind of looking for what makes like the best like output for my input. So like if you're in out of state, it's way easier to find cash flow out of state. Versus in Hawaii, it's very hard. So like you can work a lot less to find cash flow out of state than if you were to work to find cash flow like in Hawaii in state.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all of it. There's a lot of different obstacles, but I felt like the obstacles of learning how to do this from afar were much less than trying to find something that would cash flow in Hawaii and in a more appreciation state.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's interesting. So, like, you're looking for, like, what are the difficulties, right? So, the difficulties of, like, the market in that area that cash flow is easier, but the challenge is now you're out of state. So, like, you have, like, that obstacle. Versus if you're in Hawaii, you're in state, you can see, touch, and feel everything. But then, like, it's hard to find the actual cash flow on the back end of the process.
Yeah, I actually considered that an advantage that I can't see, touch, and feel.
Why is that?
Because if I have to rely on a team from afar, I get to learn how to run a business, to trust and verify, to make sure that everything's working appropriately from afar. If I'm in Hawaii and if I bought a property and it was like next door, it's so easy for me to go, oh, well, I'll go over there and fix the toilet. Or that's not a real business. That's me creating myself another job, right?
Yeah.
Or I can just be that landlord because it's just right down the street. And
I think that's like the fallacy a lot of people fall into, where they turn into like I'll just do it myself because like it's available or I can, and then like that turns into like it's like another job, or like you're not able to like really grow or scale because you're always limited by like how many hours you can put into like into owning your own rental property.
Yeah, and it happens so gradually that you don't even notice it, and then one day you wake up and like, I have a job. I have an additional job, not just a
Yeah. So
yeah, definitely.
But then, so like you're choosing your hearts, you're choosing like the cash flowing rentals, or I mean like the price points, or like the out of state like distance. So you chose to tackle the challenge of the distance. What are the challenges that you're facing when you have to like manage things like so far away?
Well, it's definitely having to create and trust a team. So trust is going to be very important, and you get to verify, right, everything you do. And they don't know who you are, you don't know who they are, right? And you're just kind of you're building all of these teams. If something goes wrong, you can't go and show up to the property or sit and go see that person or anything like that. So you really have to build out your systems and processes, and how you run not just your team but your portfolio, and ensuring everything is running smoothly, like you would a real business. You know, you have to truly treat it like a real business.
But so how do you like even find like these people? Like, why would they listen to you? Why would they want to work with you? Like, you know, like you're so far away. How do you build this team from such a long distance?
I say the same thing as you would build the same team, a team here locally than you would than up there. Where would you go if you were looking for a property manager here locally?
Google, maybe Yelp.
Okay. What else?
Ask for referrals, maybe. So
Yeah. What else?
let's see. Now you got me thinking. Google, Yelp, referrals. Maybe ask some realtors
You
or
go
other
to a
landlords,
networking
right?
event,
Yeah,
right?
that's- yeah,
Something
true,
like
yeah.
that. You'd go talk to somebody who's got a property manager that that has a couple properties themselves, right? So you just gave me like 5 different ways. Why can't you do that there, right? You can do that also out of state. So that's kind of it's almost the same process. It's just a matter of you get to be better at verifying and having interviews and talking to them, and and then working your team a little bit more than you so you don't get to shake their hand and be in person.
Yeah, I mean, there's a slight skill I feel like in able to like figure out a person like in face to face versus like over a phone call or a Zoom. Just because I feel like when you're face to face, you can kind of get a little more feel of like the person, what they're like, etc. And then versus like over Zoom or like on the phone, it's just like slightly different.
And it's still just an interview, I guess you can say. You still get to try them out. You still get to work with them, and that's the part that's going to be the most important part, whether you're local or out of state anyway, right? It's when you're having that first trial of whatever it is, like say it's your property manager. You get to set up your property expectations on how how it's going to work and what the communication styles are, and having all the ability to understand exactly what what kind of services are they providing and what you're expecting, right? And having all of these things happen up front, so you can and continuing to work with that person.
So are you saying that like it doesn't just work out the first time with every person?
Oh my goodness.
How many so I mean like it sounds like so you guys have gotten very good at building teams out of state. Is it like what is like the ratio of like positive to like challenges? Like like is it the first guy works 1 out of every 3 times, 1 out of every 2 times, 4 out of 5 times? Like what is that number?
Oh, you're being so generous. Like that really happens. 4 people only. I think it's a rotating door of just people in their seasons, right? Just any time in anybody's life, you have seasons for when they're really someone that fits well with you. As we grew our portfolio, we had to change out team members simply for the season that we were in. We grew too large for a smaller company, or maybe they're having life things happen. And one time our property manager simply got pregnant and she quit, and she was a rock star. And
it's funny. I had like 2 property managers that I really liked. Both of them retired, and then like that, I've never found like another one that just like them.
Yeah, exactly. I had a property manager who just recently he died, right? And so his entire company was left to someone different. And I saw it like as if I moved to an entirely new company, not just simply because he was gone, And during that time frame, even when he was sick, it was a very different company, right? So things just happen, life happens. So you're constantly building up I call them the bench, right? Constantly networking, constantly looking in case anything you needed a separate person, or maybe they even fit someone else better than someone different. Like what your communication styles and what your expectations are might be very different than mine, but maybe you'd fit someone that I met, I can provide value for you.
You know, when I first started investing, and my plan was like, we're just gonna work with the same team for like the rest of my life, for the rest of my career. I think it's the same realtor, the same like contractor, the same like property manager. And that I genuinely thought that I would do that. Like just find one rock star and then we're like ride them like till I die, you know. But I think like the reality is like it's a myth that you're gonna work with the same people like for like forever. It's just everybody, like you said, has their seasons or their times where like their goals and like their capacity aligns with yours. And then for whatever reason, I feel like it's either like they have different goals, they go in a different direction, or like you grow too big, or you downsize, whatever it is. And like sometimes you're no longer a fit to work with like the team member who was once like a perfect fit for you at that point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's totally okay for that to happen because everybody has their own lives, and you can't expect everything to stay the same forever. And in fact, I consider that almost a negative, right? You always want to be moving and pivoting and going with the I get to go with opportunity too, right? Sometimes the market is going a different directions, and maybe they're not a good fit at that time for that particular strategy. There's so many different things that can happen, and I get to ebb and flow with my life and my portfolio. So just assume that it will, right?
Yeah, it's just a matter of time, right? So like there's been times I'm like, dude, like this guy's we're gonna ride him to ever. Like he's such a rock star, and then 2 months later, then like just like the quality or like the communication drops off, and like it's like here goes another one, like and so
yeah, it's just part of business,
the process, right?
part of the process. Absolutely.
So when you guys are interviewing, let's say like a new property manager, like what kind of questions are you asking? How are you vetting like a property manager?
I personally spend a lot of time really truly understanding where they are in their business, right?
What do you mean by that?
Well, are they a small, medium, large? Or are they looking to grow? Are they looking to downsize? Are they, someone was looking to retire, right? Or just understanding where they are and what their priorities are. And based on what they say, then I can determine if they're a right fit. I'm not there to tell them, this is me and this is what I got, right? Yeah. What are you looking for? And if I'm not an ideal partner, I would like to say, right, for their services, then maybe I need to move on. But I'd rather hear it from them instead of, oh yeah, we could totally fit you in, because then you don't really know that. So I'm going to spend a lot of my time understanding where they are, what do they want. Sometimes a property manager doesn't want to, for an example, right, a property manager doesn't want to work with inner city or something like that, or super far outside of a certain area. Then if I tell them, oh, I work there, and he's like, oh, well, I guess I could do that. I never
You don't
knew.
want that already. You want to make sure like what he specializes is exactly what you're asking for.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna find out if we're a really good fit.
And do you guys like prioritize let's say like there's fees or like like the expenses or like management, like what are like the things that you guys are you looking for, like when you guys looking for like a property manager?
I'm not really looking for the fees, because if he's got high fees, he better have some high value. And sometimes they're worth it, right? So I'm not, nobody gets taken out on that, but it's more to me is, are they going to be a really great communicator in the style that I am looking for?
And what kind of style is that for you?
For me, I love emails, or I'm constantly checking in, and I have like due dates on, like, I'm going to check in on these days and we're going to have a conversation. I have structure. I like structure. And I like a lot of data, obviously. So then you send me a beautiful Excel sheet and we are friends forever.
I remember that. So whenever I see it on your good side, I'm going to send you like a nice spreadsheet. So here, Jasmine, here's
a new software thing that does this and it automates this. I'm like, you're so cool.
So like when you're looking for a property manager, so you're looking for somebody who's organized, who has like they're like really good on the communication standpoint.
Yeah, for me, that's something that matters to me. Other people, maybe they're really looking for a relationship, someone they can talk to and trust, and really have that conversation. That it's all dependent on what your style is and what's going to serve you, and if they match that, it's going to be it's not like a kill. It's not like, oh, well, he has a different style, so I can't work with him. It's I get to know what it really is, and they're not just telling me whatever just because it's an interview, right?
Yeah. So I mean, are there any ever so this is very interesting because I think a lot of times when I hear people talk about like what the ideal property manager is, like they'll just give me like a list of like things, right? They're like, you need to do this, 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 and this, and this. But from what you're saying, it sounds like it's more like there's more nuance to it, where like you're looking for, does it fit with my goals and me specifically, versus just like this is what a perfect property manager looks like.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's any team member, right? Or are they going to be a good fit for my season right now? Because maybe if you're starting off, you're looking for not just a property manager, but a contractor or, or a realtor even, or anything like that, right? And if you're starting off, you have a very different perspective, different abilities, and than somebody who has maybe 100 doors, right? So maybe you would fit better with someone who also is starting out. Right. But then as you grow, maybe you guys you grow out of each other. So everybody's different. It all depends on your situation. You just get to really understand your situation and what you're ideally looking for, because there's no right or wrong, and it's just, are they a good fit for you?
Are there any like red flags that like when we're interviewing like a property manager, like we should like just be aware of?
Oh yeah. For me, the red flag is if they're not actually listening to what I want, right? So I'm there to listen, to understand what they're there for, what they truly want. And if they're just telling me how wonderful they are and all these, I'm like, I'm not here to be sold. I'm here to have we're going to be in a relationship, right? I mean, in anything, even in a real relationship. That person is just one-sided and just telling you how wonderful they are. When are you going to have a second date?
So if they're not asking you questions back, then you feel like that's like a big red flag.
Well, I'm sure I would want them to interview me too, right? Am I a good fit for their company? And if they're just going to take anybody just to take anybody, then that's a red flag, right? But if they're really looking at it and really wanting to understand where I'm at and seeing if I'm going to be someone, I'm sure they don't want a pain either, right? So that's for not just for a property manager, but for anything, right?
One of the challenges, though, as an investor, is that like we demand a lot of attention. Like we need a lot of time, whether it's our agent, our contractor, or our property manager. So how can we get it where like we can get like their time, because like they're busy with like other investors or with other clients, etc. too, like,
I believe that's simply on upfront expectations. Like, this is what I need. You get to tell them that, right? This is what I need. This is what I'm expecting. Can you provide that? And if you can't, I'm totally fine with that. We're just not a good fit. But if they don't know that up front, that's where all the friction can come from, right? So it's just a matter of, is it, so it can take a lot of interviews in order for you to find the right fit for you. But once you know exactly what you need and and that's what you want, you know what you can say, okay, maybe I don't really need that much, versus what's the bottom line. Absolutely, I need this no matter what.
That's really good. I mean, I feel like you mentioned, you're kind of like you do the nitty gritty, like you're kind of down and dirty, and you're making sure things are stabilizing and happening and things. And like, that's such an important role. I think a lot of people, like the investors, we like the glam, like the acquisitions or like the other things, but like it's so important to have like the stabilization and like be like have the attention to detail. If you're looking for, so like let's say there's other investors who are looking for someone like you, what are you looking for in like a partner or somebody to work with?
What do you mean partner?
Like as like so like let's say like, so there's like, I think there's two parts. There's like the visionary and the integrator, or like there's one person who's like maybe like they're kind of driving things or like they're pushing things, and there's the other person who's like, hey, like they're making sure like things are happening, the checks are getting paid, the rent's coming in, like all the contractors we're sending them pictures, etc. And then like when you first start, you have to do everything yourself. But eventually, like it's a lot easier to like run in your lane and to find like a partner who's really, really good like yourself. And so I think I'd say like 90% of the investors I meet, they're looking for somebody like you. Like, like there's not a whole lot of people like you, where there's way more investors who are on like the visionary side than who are on like the integrator side. So like as an integrator, what are you looking for in a partner or like in a visionary?
Well, like you said, there's definitely, it feels like you see one or the other, right?
Yeah,
You see
yeah.
the visionary or you see the implementer. And that's the funny part. You can even see them, they're both in real estate too, right? So the implementer tends to just be that person who's looking for that one, and then they want to watch it because they have to have all the data and make sure everything is good. And then that visionary guy is like, I'm going to get 20 properties in the first year. How am I going to do? I don't know, but I am going to do it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Well, maybe that's the person you want to talk to. Because I'll be honest, if CJ didn't push and he was, I am getting these doors, I don't, and then he just kept getting in. He's like, hey, we're under contract. And if he actually listened to me when I said, stop it, we wouldn't have done what we were doing, right? And at the same time, if he didn't have me, we probably would have lost all those doors by now. So you definitely, if you can't find a partner, you're definitely going to have to find a team member that you can hire out or of some sort in order to, but you don't get to just run with one side or the other. And I think the most important part is to know which one you are.
Yeah.
Know that there is a difference, right? Like, oh, okay, I am a visionary. I better find someone.
It's always like a sliding scale, right? Like you're never like 100% visionary. You're maybe like 99%, but then there's always like, you always have to do like a little bit of both. But it's the kind of finding, where do you find like where do you get enjoyment or fulfillment where it feels light and doesn't feel heavy? And then where do you need to like ask for like help or find a partner who like they're doing the opposite and it feels like very light to them.
Yeah.
Like someone who's like, I love Excel spreadsheets. Like that, to me, that's crazy, right? But like you love Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah. And it's we call it unique capabilities, right? Like what is it that you truly enjoy? And then we spend our lives trying to find more ways to make sure I get to spend more time doing that.
Yeah.
And everything else gets to be delegated out, or I get to find a way or a timeline where I can take that off my plate because I want to spend my time doing the thing that I was, God, the gifts that God gave me. I want to spend doing that, and everything else gets to go on the side. So just being more aware, it comes down to your thought process and your mindset of it too, like being very, very aware of what you truly are good at and how you can take that and provide value. I don't like working on my weaknesses. I want to stay focused in on my strengths.
Yeah. That's a really good point. So I mean, like, so we're going to a network event, like let's say I'm a visionary. I'm trying to find like a Jasmine. Like what is like, where would I find a Jasmine and what is Jasmine looking for in like in a visionary partner?
Oh, well, I can only say from me when I go looking for someone, not just a visionary, but someone I have this particular thing on my plate that I want to offload, right? So what are those qualities that person's going to want, that's going to have, and then what are their experiences? And just kind of, you would spend the same thing you would in anything, right? You're interviewing or having those conversations and making sure that person would be a right fit. Just like any team member, just like we were just talking about your property manager, having that communication and understanding where they are at.
Yeah.
And, and having that, that implementer person will definitely want to look at your data and and you can see them even light up on the idea like that's so fun.
That's interesting. It's kind of like when you're having so when you're going to these networking events, I feel like there's always opportunities for collaboration, and it doesn't have to necessarily be like a long-term collaboration, but it's just looking for pieces that fit where like you're weak in. And so it's just helpful to hear like your perspective on like what you're looking for or what you like to do, because like I'm like, if you really like to do that, then but then I don't like to do that. Like that's like, it seems like we would be a good fit to kind of collaborate or work together.
And as long as, again, upfront expectations, right? You're the visionary, I'm the implementer. You stay in your lane, I'll stay in mine. This is what you said you're going to do. This is what I said I'm going to do. This is when it's going to be done. And then that way we can know upfront and understand that's what we get to do. Then that makes our entire relationship.
This is like exactly
easier.
what an integrator would say as far as like setting deadlines, making things like very clear front. Basically the details.
The visionary won't say that.
And so like the visionary is like, let's just join. Like the integrator's like, wait. Let's put this on paper. Let's like make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's and things. And so it's so funny.
I feel like I say that often too. I meet a lot of visionaries, I guess.
I mean, I feel like it, because like especially networking, like I feel like as an integrator is like it's not as fun to network because like the visionaries are the ones who are like, yeah, let's talk about things, let's like try to like talk about ideas and like move things forward. Versus integrators like, wait, let's make sure we're doing things like correctly and on the right path.
Yeah, but you need each other.
Yeah, no, 100%. So as you like, so you're married, you and Steve are married, but you're also like business partners. Is there ever like a challenge where like marriage and like business kind of like collide with each other?
Oh, of course, all the time. And it makes the whole thing, business and marriage, very entertaining, or there's no light moment, right? So we definitely, I feel like it's, we look at it in the same way with our marriage and with our business. We both have different responsibilities and different things that we take care of. And we get to choose, we say upfront expectations wise, this is our lanes. So when an argument comes up and we're in a disagreement, we get to throw that card out. This is my lane.
Yeah.
I thank you for your opinion and I will make the final decision.
I like that.
So that's I feel like both work.
As long as it's clearly defined up front, I think that's a big thing. So, and you want to define it when you guys are not in an argument, when both of you are happy and like level headed, right? It's like, this is like the lane. Whereas like when we're angry or like we're arguing, then like the emotions are high, then you make bad decisions or things get a little cloudy.
Yeah, and it's how you say it too, right?
yeah, 100%. So.
It's like, that's mine. I said this because that's what I said. Like that's not gonna be helpful.
That's funny. So I mean, so somebody like last piece of advice, somebody just starting out and like they want to like get involved with WNN, like what are you looking for in a student to join the mentorship program?
I'm looking for someone I feel like the person who would be the ideal candidate to join WNN is the type of person who's not willing to take and do the same things that they've done in the past.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when you're doing something different, you get to do something. The actions you take have to be different, right? It's what got you there won't get you here, right? What got you here won't get you there. Excuse me.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You ever read that book? That's basically.
I've heard of it though. Yeah.
Yeah. So the things that that you've done in your past got you to where you are and got you the results you're at. If you want something different, you get to do something different, right? So if you come in and this is your first step into a new journey, you get to be open to the idea of, I can't do the things that I've done in the past because that's not going to produce the result that's going to get me to where I want to go. I get to do what they did, right? Those people, that's where I want to go. They're over there. I get to do what they did. So you get to come in with that openness of possibility and trying something different. And that's what I'm looking for. Someone who's at least open to the idea of, I get to be uncomfortable and it's a good thing.
And like something not like you said, not the same path that I've always been. I need to make slightly different decisions or make it go in a different direction than what they have been for the last 10 or 15 years of my life.
Yeah. And if you're happy with the results you produce, continue doing that and that's fine. I'm not here to change you. I'm here to offer you something different if you'd like it.
Very, very cool. So if people want to find out more about WNN or follow you, Jasmine, what's the best way to do that?
Well, WNN Properties, of course. And we also have a couple of free items if you ever want to check out the website and, pick up a free PDF or anything like that as well. And then our Facebook page at WNN Properties.
Okay, thank you. Well, it was a pleasure having you on, the better half. And so thank you for coming on today.
Thanks.